touched my shirt. So you leave food on your shirt and you can eat it off of it.
Why most men have beards.
Yeah. So 9. You had District 9 and I picked 9.
But you also picked 9.
I didn't even know how to say it. Numeral 9 or N-I-N-E. And I tried watching the other one and it's like, oh boy, nope. So we watched an animated one. What did you think?
So I remember just fast forwarding to like just to see what the artistry was like probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Yep.
And just sort of went, oh my goodness, that's an amazing look and feel.
Yep.
It's not a cartoon. It's not trying to emulate real life. It's sort of halfway in between. And so I thought it was going to be interesting from that perspective. But I thought it was a fantastic movie. Very religious subtones.
Yes.
Through that.
Yep.
Exceedingly. Especially when they went off to heaven. I went, oh my goodness.
Yep.
Could you read any more pages from the Bible for me? Like,
yeah.
And I mean, overall, I'd give it like an 8.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was well done. I was reading some of the reviews later. This time is the first time I did not take notes while I watched the movie. So I just kind of, I didn't even write a few things down hardly. One thing I didn't know until after I read about it was that the creatures 1 through 9 are called Stitch Punks. I didn't know they had a name. It's called Stitch Punks.
Well, it comes from, I guess, steampunk, because the whole flavor of the movie was steampunk. Yeah, no, very much so. But I did like that, like the guy had a zipper, like the character had a zipper and he got to put things in and out of it. And it's like, I want me a zipper, that would have been neat to get. That's how you have your kids. You pop out and then you need a new part and carry around scissors or tape or paper or keys. That would be great. Yeah. I the way it came to life reminded me of Pinocchio. Yeah. It's the same kind of thought process on something coming to life. I like how they had to search for their meaning. Yeah. Search for their beginning, search for who they are, come together. The old man, the puppet, reminded me of Jean-Luc Picard. Did he do that to you? Like that when the voice, was it Christopher Plummer? Who was the voice? Yeah, Christopher Plummer. Reminded me of that. Or was Christopher Plummer the overall voice? I don't know. No, I don't think so. You're right. It was one's voice. Yeah, the first one. Yeah. So I really like that, giving them a number, because then I don't have to remember character names so much. You're just remembering a number. And it's like, well, that's pretty great. I like that. Yeah, I liked, like, they seem like genuinely, I mean, I don't watch a whole lot of sci-fi. So for me, it was, if I could compare it to WALL-E, it reminded me of that. Like WALL-E meets the Terminator, I guess. And, they have the post-apocalyptic thing and trying to find, meaning to life. And then there's bad things chasing you. And so and they had the talisman, and they had, there's a whole bunch of sort of rather predictable parts of it, but I thought they did it well. I guess it's Tim Burton is the genius behind some of this. So yeah, I didn't expect something done poorly. There's reference to Coraline, which is another movie, and it's like, okay, now I kind of want to watch that, because either it's someone is involved with the same in the production. So that sounds like, it made me want to watch the next one if they ever have one. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the sympathy for character number 9 is very quickly established. Yeah. And we were going to watch the movie 9, the other one, N-I-N-E. And we both said, we started watching it because I said the same thing. And I didn't believe in anything.
No.
And yet that's real. And it was almost a look of behind the scenes of a director trying to get a movie. It was supposed to be incredibly real. And this is an animation and it felt real.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know why. Sometimes things just kind of grab you. And it reminded me a little like E.T. Phone Home, you know, this we're following this character and we kind of see its birth and then it's finding out who it is and whether it's alone or not. And yeah, so that part I really liked. I really liked the idea that he put the talisman, I think, in something and it activated the beast. And so, you know, he was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And it gives credence to the story of people who, when you've done something wrong that's hurt other people, what can you do besides say, I'm sorry, and then try and fix it? So they seem to address it. And I like that part about it. I thought they did that well. The one thing I was a little confused on is like some of the enemies. First it's like a cat thing, and then it's like a pterodactyl kind of thing. And I don't know if it's all the same one or like then they kill the one and then, oh, something else is still alive. And so I was a little confused about some of that. Like, didn't they just kill the bad thing and they, okay, now we're safe. But, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's something else. So that was a little confusing for me. But
in the end, it was that eye thing, the one single eye that he turned on that we now realize was built by that scientist in Germany, and the Third Reich took it over and turned it into something for bad instead of for good. And that was the thing that until it was killed at the end was the thing that ultimately was coming after them.
Yeah. And with the end with, he was trying to rescue his friends because it's like, I know they're gone, but I think I can bring them back. And so, okay, how is that going to happen? Like this life after death thing, they kind of looked at that, but in the end they kind of ascended and they went into the sky and then they turned into the rain that was falling, and the rain is the beginning of civilization again. So
right.
I think, that's done the way it was supposed to be done. Like that's, the hope for mankind comes from the circle of life.
Well, I imagine kids seeing this, and it'd be great for them because they have to experience the death of their buddy and their friend. You know what I mean? The other puppets that you become close to and hope for, and they die, and it's number 9's fault, essentially, that they died. And so, as a child who's like maybe 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, they have to watch this, and they have to sort of take some responsibility because they feel they're number 9. You know what I mean? That's who they would connect with. And so they have to have the same fear of, I don't want to let go of my friends that are in there.
Yeah.
And then when you realize they did and they weren't dead, they go somewhere else. That's the whole heaven and the religious theme thrown in like in such.
Yeah. Well, that's way easier than to explain to kids you're just dead.
I find it easier to explain just dead, but
no, I know, but the hopefulness, I guess, of it, or whatever. So they definitely use religious themes in that way. And the old wise one was at first, unyielding in some of the opinions, and then in the end, I think it was him who sacrificed himself. So they had a lot of themes that we've seen before, but I did like the way they did it.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was brilliant the way they put it together and how each one. I mean, the girl who that was so. Yeah, you wondered if they get in trouble nowadays, because all these puppets are gender neutral. But there's a girl and a guy, and they called it her and she, and they called the other ones he. In other words, they devolved directly into their gender or their sex. You know what I mean? Yeah. In all conversations and just by their voice. And and she was as strong as any of the guys.
Stronger, yeah.
Nobody, gender was not a thing that they were contemplating when they made this to make it that way.
No, it was almost like it was, okay, we're setting them so people can identify with them somewhat, and yet there's no there was, at first I thought, oh, they're going to fall in love or something like that. But no, it wasn't. And I kind of appreciate the fact that they didn't have to take it there, that everything has to, end with this. I mean, everyone wants a happily ever after, but it's not without, he's lost his friends. They're no longer with him. They've gone on to the better place, but, he doesn't have them in his life, and it's sort of his fault. So, yeah, and you live with it and deal with it and try and be a better person. There you go. So
Matt, I really thought that doofus one, number 8, who was wasn't that number 8, the big doofus?
I think so.
And I thought he was going to end up turning out to be bad or something, that he would like get infected and then come back and pretend to be lovable and then come after them. And that never happened.
Right.
And same with the old guy, number 1. I thought he was going to somehow muck it up, like do something on purpose, and because he kept warning them, don't go, don't threaten, you have no idea, I know these things, you don't know these things. And he kept trying to stop them from maybe doing good. And we all knew that he was trying to do good, but he didn't know very much of what he was doing, so he was just putting his best effort out and being dumb most of the time. But
and in the end, he sacrificed himself.
Well, the steampunk aspect of it, I thought it was great. The little machines in the air that used bellows to propel themselves and heat up the balloon that was keeping them hot and keeping them floating. So I think what happened is this machine built all the other machines from what he had. And therefore, when you kill the one machine he makes all the flying ones come out. Then the pterodactyl one was like one of the first ones that came out. And then that was finally killed. The whole story of World War II, I mean, there were those stories where German scientists wanted to do good, and then their stuff was hijacked for bad purposes. And then later on, they were considered terrible people because they were contributing to World War II's, death of a lot of people.
Well, I feel that way about protests. I might agree wholeheartedly about the protests, but there's somebody who says, this is what we're protesting. It's like, no, I don't agree with that part. So now I can't agree with any of the protests because you've taken one thing and gone off in a direction that now I can't agree with you. You could say the same thing about you're a Christian. Well, what kind of a Christian are you? Are you the kind of Christian who wants to shoot abortion doctors? No, I'm not that kind of Christian. You want to label people often. If you're a conservative or a Christian or
what we do with Muslims,
sure.
Are you a nice Muslim? Are you
are you the kind that wants to? Yeah. But the thing is, I only run into the nice ones, but the other ones do exist. So you have to learn about that and know about it. But it's interesting. Trying to decide, what protest is okay. Now that is worthy of me going down there, and I will protest with you. It's like, no.
I mean, Dad was like that because of the whole Phillips environmental thing, and he was, really big into thinking that he could accomplish something with that, and being part of a tax group, and what I mean, like
fighting for the little man.
And I am so not that kind of guy. I learned by watching him to not be that guy. If I don't like where I am, go somewhere else. Yeah, find like-minded people and hang around them.
Yeah,
but to sit there and fight the man just seems silly to me.
Yeah,
I never understood that.
Yeah, we've just had an election, so we have a new mayor, Andrea Horvath. And it's funny. This is the first time I had met all 3 of the candidates for mayor, like the top 3.
Who were the top 3?
Top 3 was Bob Bertina, who used to be the mayor, and then he went to the higher level of government. Andrea Horvath used to be a counselor, and then she went on to the higher level of government. And the other one was Keenan Loomis, and he was part, I think, the Chamber of Commerce or something. So he had ties with that, but he was relatively a newcomer because he's only been here for 20 years. So that was what they were kind of like, you weren't born here, so you can't, it's like, no. So there was a lot of back and forth, but I mean, I think any of them would have been fine, but I was hoping the young guy would win in a lot of ways, because see what he can bring to the table. And he actually showed up for my final walk, held a sign, said, "Way to go, Anita." So it's like, I like him.
That's a great reason to want him to be mayor, for sure.
I mean, and nothing else. I mean, yeah. But I met Andrea at something, and I met
he put some effort in a way that was something that he thought was valuable. Yep. And was on your side in something. That's
it's a good enough reason to vote for. Yeah. But I think everyone will be fine. We got a whole lot of new people, so it'll be
was there provincial? That was just municipal.
Municipal, but all of the province is like the whole province is municipal. So that's kind of.
So there's big elections everywhere, and it was all municipal. Okay.
I think so. Yeah. So we'll see if if things change or not.
Yeah. Well, interest rates will go down and inflation will go down. And that's what bothers me when I guess they got a new prime minister in England.
Yeah.
And they're going, well, the other girl that was in for 6 weeks or something, interest rates went up and inflation went up, and we have to get rid of her. Name me a country that didn't go up in.
I know. But I think the British are notorious now for, we want to leave, we want Brexit. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe okay. And we hate Boris, out you go. And then it's like, oh, but we don't like the other one. Okay, we get the new one. Oh, we don't like her either. They're making it untenable for any of them to just, do their job. And it's like,
well, the one who is in when things turn around in the world are going to be the one that's going to take credit for it and not bask in the glory of 12 years of being prime minister because they've done such a good job when they didn't have anything to do with it.
Not really. Yeah. No, it's interesting how people all think they want something and then they don't realize that actually when it comes, like we had a bunch of, we have the LRT was a rather contentious issue, and they're going to put the light rail transit in, and it's going to be expensive and it'll probably go over budget like stuff always does, and a lot of people aren't helped by it, but just because it doesn't help me doesn't mean it's not good for the city. So but it's signed, it's sealed, it's delivered, it's done, and people are still saying, well, if you hate the LRT, now I'll vote for you. And it's like, it's a done deal. Stop talking about stuff that's a done deal. If you can't fix it,
it's a done deal. They could be halfway built and they could stop it still.
Yeah, but then they've built in. That's the thing. They've built in, if we don't go through with it now, you have to, pay. Yeah. So, and it's like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, again, we have things that it's like, okay, we all want this. And it turns out like, we want to fire all of our unvaccinated city employees. That was the thing that they said. Okay, we're going to fire them all. If you don't get vaccinated, we're firing you. And then they kept extending the deadline. And then they realized that, oh, technically, they could sue and maybe win. And okay, maybe it's not a good idea to fire all those people because they can sue you for millions of dollars. And it's like, okay, now do you want to pay millions of dollars for people to, it's like, okay, well, maybe not. So yeah, it's just one of those things that you don't always know what all the repercussions are of something. So now we're not talking about the movie.
That's the theory of unintended consequences.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people don't even know what those are. We can't see ahead enough to
we don't know how it's going to unfold and how people game the system. It's like you said about the if halfway through they build it, they cut it off, the people still get paid. And so then somebody at one point is going to go, we should cut it off, even though we're halfway done. And somebody go, how crazy are you? And then they're going to finish it and find out that it was 8 times more expensive than they thought. And he would have been right to cut it off back then and save that money, even though he had to pay the extra thing. And they would have gone, oh, well, he was right, even though, and that people just, they don't know when you won't know till you get there.
Yeah, and people say, you know, we want an inquiry because, you know, it's slippery on the red hill, and I think that they were hiding a thing, and so okay, so they launched an inquest, which cost millions and millions and millions of dollars, and it's basically because a bunch of people who had accidents were looking to blame the road instead of, you know, the fact that they might have been going a little bit too fast.
Yeah, in slippery conditions, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but we don't realize that the inquiry is going to cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. Not just, you know, okay, we're going to pay a lawyer or two. No, this was like, that's a regret because we shouldn't have, it didn't solve any problem either.
No,
so.
Of course not.
So.
And any result's going to be as ambiguous as you can possibly get because there's lawyers who are writing them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've never been desirous of political life. And I so appreciate those people who do, because they put themselves out there and every Looney Tune around gets to say something about you. So it's a little bit like celebrities, you know, you choose that life and you run the risk that you get talked about in a way that you don't appreciate. So.
Yes, the movie.
Yes.
Crispin Glover was number 6, and I had no idea that he was in this. I didn't get his voice. I got John C. Reilly's voice.
Well, Elijah Wood, and that like so he's number 9, and he was also, you know, Frodo in the Lord of the Rings. So he has that perfect voice of, you know, the little guy trying to, you know, on a quest, trying to solve, you know, humanity's. So yeah,
and it shows you the sort of silliness of a cartoon hiring Jennifer Connelly as a voice. That helps sell the movie because she's a pretty girl, hot actress. But you could have gotten anybody's voice for 1/10 the cost who would have just as good a voice. And how did a pretty girl help sell this movie when you don't get to see the girl? You only get to hear her voice. So it's a strange thing that they get to add her as somebody in the cast, but you never get to see her. You don't get to utilize it. You just get to say the name. It shows you how influenced we are.
That name was important enough for them to pay big bucks to her instead of some kind of person who, you know, a girl with a nice voice, you know, what it sounds like. Yeah, not too many people have such distinctive voices that you can't sort of, like, there's a bunch of people, like, I'll hear someone that's like, you know what, that sounds like Patrick Stewart, but you know, it might not be. It could be another, you know, English gentleman with, you know, a little bit of an accent. And then there's imitators, people who can, you know, do imitations. But
now I thought it funny. The voice of the scientist was by Alan Oppenheimer. Now,
yes.
Oppenheimer is one of the guys who worked in the atomic bomb.
Yes. Is it the same one?
I don't know. I looked it up, and he's just an actor, and he's been in a bunch of things. He was in a Bewitched episode, and like, so if you click on him in MB, you'll end up seeing the stuff that he's in Hogan's Heroes and that kind of stuff. So I don't think he has any, just coincidental, but the fact it's about the, you know, not the Holocaust, but the end of the world and all men dying. And I sort of don't like that they, because the whole world wouldn't die, even in a nuclear, you know, warfare where they send all the bombs off. It would be awful, but we'd be down to 20 million or 80 million, or
someone's going to live somewhere.
New Guinea, like there's no bombs going off around New Guinea. Now, I know it means that there's a lot of smoke in the air and would have nuclear winter, but we can live through those things. Not the same way we do now. There'll be no internet. You know what I mean? We'll have to solve problems at a very basic level, and all of us would starve almost immediately, even if we're living in Canada, because we don't know how to take care of ourselves without killing people for food. Like that we would survive on. Just might is right. But just the way it showed there was war, and somebody put off some gas, and that killed everybody. And it was his machine that
was the cause.
It was what ends up being the cause of it, and then the sort of continued aspect of life. Now it's machines living against machines, but it felt like life to us.
Yes. Well, the one thing I appreciated too, the one that was missing an eye, number 5. He was missing his eye. Yes. Right. So he only had one eye, and then he's absorbed by the thing, and he's gone, and then he's reincarnated-ish to go up into the clouds, and he was still missing his eye.
Yeah.
So who he was not like, it's okay that you are who you are, even though you don't have what other people might think of as a perfect body. I did appreciate how, like, one of the what did they call them, stitch punks, had a zipper, like number 9 had a zipper, and then there's buttons and buckles and different ways that they were all just a slightly different. So I thought that was sort of there's probably more in that than more thought went in that, but I'm pretty sure that most of these things we don't get to concentrate on the detail of it, or I don't care enough about the detail, but probably like things in the background are like, okay, that it's symbolic of something else or whatever. So I think it's probably deeper than we even think.
I wonder if there's a book about it, like somebody wrote a book first and then they made this movie on after.
I think they were talking about that and then they were talking about whether or not there's going to be a sequel. And I guess there's a Facebook page, and someone put a comment on there that makes you think, "Oh, there's a sequel." And then the page went inactive, and then nothing's happening. So, no, I can't see anything. But it was released on 9/9/09. But that was pretty, because it was 9.
Yeah.
Okay. Before the film's release, there was a mobile game adaptation. So they had. So, okay. Roger Ebert said, gave 3 stars out of 4, and he said, it's beautifully animated and intriguingly unwholesome. Nevertheless, worth seeing.
Unwholesome.
Yeah, I don't know what he means by that, but I think along the lines of, this was not a gentle, sweet thing. This was like, dealing with a few like loss and regret and being killed and stuff like that. And it's funny, it's like it wasn't overly graphic. Like what did we watch? Was it? Oh, I've been watching Game of Thrones, and it's like, if you want gore, holy crap, there's a whole lot of guts flying all over and heads coming off, and it's like, okay, I don't need to see it quite. Like, I'm not quite as entranced by that. I would just assume it be a little cartoonish, like, you hear the guillotine go and then that the head's rolling around. But yeah.
I was just sort of thrilled with how much I believed in number 9 so quickly. And the moment he did it and he made the mistake and went, sorry. And like, you remembered you feeling that way, that you've let people down. Like, you know what I mean? That sort of, that feeling is in me. It's visceral at the time. You feel that he's got that same problem going through him. I connected easier than I connect with regular movies by far.
Yeah, they did a really good job of having a computer generated story that just it got to your heart. This guy is looking for other people, and he's a little bit lost, and then he finds community, and then there's a mistake made, and yeah, I thought that was done really well.
Have you heard of the movie Chappie?
I have heard of it, but I don't remember anything about it. It's
by the same director who did District 9, set in South Africa, and sort of almost some of the same themes as District 9, and also that robot movie you were just talking about. What was that one? The little robot going around. You mentioned Wally. So like that. And there used to be there was a movie many years ago where they had like 3 different versions of the movie with a little robot going around. So Chappie's this nice, lovable robot, a lot of artificial intelligence built into it, essentially kidnapped by a gang who wanted to use it for nefarious purposes. And the robot doesn't want to be mean, you know what I mean? And wants to be sweet and nice. And they're saying, go rob these people, go take their money and bring it back to me. And I don't want to do it. And they're sort of forcing it to. And sort of some of the same themes of having a robot take over the world and how scary that is here is the same kind of thing in there, but it's a mashup between District 9, Wall-E, and 9 is the movie Chappie. And then the two people who are in it, Ninja and Yolandi, they're in a singing group called The Antwoord, which is South African for the answer. And they're very strange. If you listen to some of their music, you'd go, oh, I got to turn this off. I love it, but I don't think you would at all. But they probably have the song that they put out that has saved the most number of lives in the world.
Sure. What is it?
So it's called
Don't Kill Yourself.
No, it's called Evil Boy.
Okay.
And in South Africa, in the tribal South Africa, if you don't get circumcised, you're considered an evil boy. And at about age 10, the elders take you out into the woods and circumcise you. That's the thing you do. And it's an awful thing because so many kids die from it, like an immense number. They're 10 years old. And but it's tribal, and it's something that you can get away with because it's tribal. You know what I mean? It's a little bit like abortion became acceptable here because it just became acceptable. And we look at it now as, well, it's a right you can't take away. Well, that's sort of, or even circumcision's an aspect of that here. You know what I mean? It's genital mutilation that we consider that's okay to do because we do it. So that's what happens over there is the tribal leaders take them out and then the kid dies of it and they have to sort of leave it alone. You know what I mean? That's their religion or their way of life, and you can't take away their way of life, and that's what they do. So Evil Boy is about, the song's essentially about a boy who says, I'm not going to do that. And in it, he sings, I'm not a gay, because the kids would call him gay for not doing it. Like everybody puts the peer pressure on you for doing that. And so he essentially says, I'm strong. This is me. I'll be an evil boy for life. Screw you all. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about it. So you imagine how many kids attached themselves to Evil Boy and went, I'm not going to do it. Even if it's only 10 lives. How many songs have saved 10 lives? You know what I mean? Like, probably hundreds, maybe thousands, but like it's a song that makes you, as a young kid making that decision, maybe decide to step outside of it.
No, songs or movies that or books that sort of challenge your thinking. I mean, I won't say love getting my mind changed, but yeah, I love hearing about stuff that makes me go, oh, okay. One of the things that in the States, the abortion issue is a big thing and stuff like that. And there's lots of comments you can make and stuff like that. And I see both sides, but one of the things that I just kind of came to the conclusion was that we as a society have said, if you feel you need to remove the child that's growing and you have our blessing and you can do that. And I think that's a little bit sad that there's so many that feel that way. That's my only comment on it. That I just feel sad that we as a community can say, no problem, go ahead. And that doesn't feel right somehow.
I don't know even if that's what makes me sad. It makes me sad when people scream bloody murder to let me have the right to do this instead of passively just talking about it and trying to change the laws and doing what you can to. But when you're screaming at people and interrupting speeches and demanding you be heard, I don't want to hear them at all. Then that's when they should be sanctioned, and that's on either side. When you do screaming and demanding, it's not been illegal. It's state by state. That's all that happened, and that's how the marijuana laws are, state by state. You know that Brittany Griner, the basketball player, went to Russia, found some marijuana filings in her gym bag or whatever, and now she's in jail.
Yeah.
So she's with the WNBA, tall black woman.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And goes to Russia, ends up getting arrested. And this was like a year ago or something. She's been in jail for a year, 10-year sentence for having marijuana. And not even that marijuana to smoke, just like little teeny bits of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the problem is America is like jumping all over this, going, how can you do this? Let's get her back. Let's do a trade of prisoner. This is awful what they're doing to her. There are a ton of people who are in jail in the US for the same thing. And nobody's trying to free them. Nope. Even though all the states around them are saying, yeah, it's free to do. This state's not free to do. And we found a little bit of trace, and it's your third thing, and you're going to jail for 15 years because it's your third offense, and you're gone for the same thing that you're begging the Russians to let her out. And we're going, and Russia has a terrible way of treating people, and we're wonderful in the US and how we treat people. Yeah. It's just not realistic. I agree she should come out. But before you let her out, anybody who has the same thing she has, that crime or less, should be let out of American prisons. Just like
stop complaining about
do that, and that's a message that we accept that little bit of marijuana and change our laws to at least reflect that for ourselves.
Yeah, I agree with the yelling and screaming, because I think it was Ashley Judd spoke a little bit on the abortion issue, and it's like, okay, I agree with her as well. You know, she said, I was raped, and the place I was raped, there was a child as a result of that. And the state that happened in, that father had a say in what happened. And she says, that's wrong. My rapist should not have a say. And it's like, okay, she's got a point. The way she said it was very eloquent. And, the
problem becomes, was it rape, or did they have sex? And she say later, like that's where everything gets mucked up. Then he does have a say. If they had sex and she went, I wish I never had sex with him. I can't tell anybody I had a boyfriend at the time. And if he finds out, and like, that's where it mucks up. I'm not saying that's actually Judd's situation, but
you're right.
Mucks up on any given one. So you have to make a law essentially that's looking at the unborn child and forgetting about the people right now. You know what I mean? And so that's what they do. And therefore that law has to be made that way, is the least form of aggravation to the child, lets them live. And now we figure out what the father and the mother and what's happening. And the sad thing is we don't know what the answer to that is and who's right.
No, because it changes, even like situation for females and for males, and like there's so many people who are not ready to be parents, and they're being parents anyways. So that's just we're allowing that. We're saying, if when I was a kid, if you got pregnant out of wedlock, you certainly didn't get a whole lot of help. You were shunned. But nowadays it's like, you're here and you can have this much for that kid, and if you have another one, we'll let you have another kid. And so who knows who wants to be the moral police, because it's like, okay, everything I agree with is going to be fine, and if I don't agree with it, then everyone else should have, and I can't think that way either. So it's a hard one.
I don't get it. I somehow think that the abortion issue should be solved by women, not men. Men do not get a sort of say in that one. And just let women make the votes and the laws and on that specific thing, because it's a very direct. It happens to women. They carry the baby. They go through the trauma. The man really doesn't go through any trauma. I mean, losing a child, that might be a potential one. Certainly is, but also she could have not got pregnant. So that nothing was a guarantee when you had that. So just the overall good is women should make that decision.
Yeah. And the fact that there are, old white men making that decision just doesn't sound right. I agree with that too.
Yeah.
But you have women on both sides saying, yes, no. So
yeah. And what would happen is they would come to a decision and minimize the time, not make it at 8 months you can have an abortion. They would, like, if you said to a woman, what's your vote? No, no, 3 months, 2 months, 5 months, no, 1 month, 2 months. And then you just average it all. And you go, the average is 2.35 months is what you got. So if you think you're pregnant, figure it out quick. You know what I mean? Like, go do that. And that's what you do. And that becomes, then the whole system gets set up for that, so that you can go in and check in, the 3rd week, whether you're pregnant or not. You know what I mean? There's places that monitor that, do it very quickly. And so you can go every weekend if you want and check that out, and makes it safe. And then all of a sudden, that's how you manage it, because the system gets built around that.
Yeah. They'll have to come up with something.
Yeah. I remember that girl in Beirut that I went to go visit in Beirut, Lebanon.
Yeah, slightly. So
she told me I'd met her in the fall. Then I was going to go there Christmas and New Year's that year, and I did. And so it would have been like November timeframe, she calls me and tells me that her friend is going to have an abortion. And her friend is, because of the whole, over there, you live with your parents till you get married. You don't, that's not, that's not strange. That's normal.
There's other options.
And so she had sex, needs to get an abortion. It's not legalized anywhere there. So she has to go to a back alley and somebody use a coat hanger kind of thing on her, right? So I said to her, tell your parents this. She goes, oh, I can't tell my parents this. I said, yeah, you have to. If you don't, I will. I said, they'll know. They're adults. They know these things happen. They know that this is what's going on. They will best guide her in that situation, certainly better than her and you making these decisions. It seems like it's an unattainable situation where you can't tell your parents, but you're just wrong. I never met her parents, but right. I know a parent would do a better job, a calmer job, a more realistic way of approaching something like that, even if it's convincing them not to, but giving them support or telling them how they can make it or how that's going to work or whatever they're going to do. Talk to somebody at a hospital and get them a proper abortion if that's what needs to be. You know what I mean? Like, whatever the thing is. And I said, if you don't, I will be telling your parents. But you can't do that. And I said, but you have to. You don't get it. It's okay. They're not going to be mad at that situation. They will just pick up and solve it.
Well, I don't know. I think there's some of them out there that murdered their daughters because they brought dishonor to their family.
And her parents would know that and value that in the thing. Like, they'd know her parents to whatever degree they knew her. They would utilize that as part of their answer.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Better than she could is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because there's times that you're not thinking straight, and that probably would be one of them.
Yeah. Well, if you're willing to go to get a coat hanger abortion in a back alley, you're not thinking straight.
Yeah.
Having the baby and going through the mental torment of everybody thinking you've had a baby out of wedlock and stuff is far superior to the chances of things going belly up and you're screwed.
So that's way off topic.
Well, not really.
Well,
okay.
That's interesting, though.
I'll stop the recording now because you're right. We diverged a fair bit. And
that's okay. We'll see you next month when we probably do number 10?
Number 11.
We do 2 9s. Now we do a 10.
Yeah, we do the 2010 decade. Yeah. So pretty recent movies are what are coming up.
Or options.
Okay.
See you next month.